Hello, my name is Shante Davies, and I'm here before you today as a survivor of decades of pain, trauma, and betrayal at the hands of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, and the people who enabled them, and a government that for far too long refused to help. In 2002, I was living in California, a young woman with high aspirations of becoming an actress. I was already beginning to make a name for myself in the industry. A person I trusted, someone I thought was a friend, invited me to meet a powerful woman who could help advance my career. That woman happened to be Ghislaine Maxwell. I was asked to give her a massage, though I had almost no experience, and when I did, she praised me and promised introductions to someone enormously powerful, someone who could change the course of my life, and that man was Jeffrey Epstein. At first, I was an excited young woman on top of the world. Epstein flew me to his private island. He listened to my dreams, promised to help, but his promises came with a catch. The abuse began. He told me to keep it secret. He manipulated me with quid pro quo I did not consent to, but I felt I had no one to turn to. He was too powerful.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm your independent political analyst, no spin, no tribalism, just facts, context, and thoughtful commentary. Today, I want to talk about a powerful and deeply emotional testimony given by Shante Davies, a survivor of abuse at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and the wider network of people who enabled them. Her words deserve not only to be heard, but also be placed in a broader context of accountability, power, and justice.
I was just one of the many young women trapped in his orbit. I was even taken on a trip to Africa with former President Bill Clinton and other notable figures. In those moments, I realized how powerless I was. If I spoke out, who would believe me? Who would protect me? Epstein himself was the most powerful leader of our country. Epstein surrounded himself, with the most powerful leaders of our country and the world. He abused not only me, but countless others, and everyone seemed to look away. The truth is, Epstein had a free pass. He bragged about his powerful friends, including our current president, Donald Trump. It was his biggest brag, actually. And while what I endured will haunt me forever, I live every day with PTSD. I live as a mother trying to raise my child while distrusting a world that has betrayed me. This kind of trauma never leaves you. It breaks families apart. It shapes the way we see everyone around us. But one thing is certain, unless we learn from this history, monsters like Epstein will rise again. There are files, government files, that hold the truth about Epstein, who he knew, who owed him, who protected him, and why he was allowed to operate for so long without consequence. Why was Maxwell the only one held accountable when so many others played a role? Why does the government hide this information from the public? This secrecy is not protection, it's complicity. And as long as the truth is buried, justice will remain out of reach. That is why this bill matters. Passing it will, bless you, ensure that the suffering of survivors is not in vain. Passing it will bring accountability, transparency, and prevention. It will help protect the next generation of predators who seek to place themselves above the law through wealth, influence, and connections. This is not just my story. It is about every survivor who carries invisible scars. It's about the weight we live with daily. It is about the families broken and the futures stolen. So I ask you, President Trump and members of Congress, why do we continue to cover up sexual abuse and assault? Who are we covering for? Let the public know the truth. We cannot heal without justice. We cannot protect the future if we refuse to confront the past. Thank you.
Shante begins by introducing herself as a survivor not just of Epstein and Maxwell, but also of a system that failed her. She recalls how, as a young aspiring actress in 2002, she was introduced to Ghislaine Maxwell under the guise of career opportunities. What seemed like mentorship quickly turned into manipulation, as Maxwell and Epstein lured her into their orbit with promises of influence, access, and success. But behind those promises was exploitation. She was taken to Epstein's private island, manipulated with secrecy and quid pro quo arrangements, and ultimately coerced into situations she never consented to. Her story mirrors what we've heard from many survivors, that Epstein's operation wasn't just about his own actions, but about a network and ecosystem that protected him and silenced victims. And that's where things become politically and socially significant. Shante recounts being on trips with influential figures, including former President Bill Clinton and hearing Epstein brag about his ties to Donald Trump. Whether these individuals were directly complicit or not, the fact that Epstein surrounded himself with world leaders, billionaires, and power brokers shows us something important. He leveraged proximity to power as both a shield and a weapon. It made victims feel helpless, and it made accountability feel impossible. What's particularly striking in her testimony is her frustration with the government. She asks why Ghislaine Maxwell was the only one held accountable when, as she puts it, so many others played a role. She raises the issue of sealed government files documents that could shed light on who Epstein was connected to, who may have enabled him, and why he was able to operate for so long without real consequences. And this raises a critical question. Does secrecy protect the public, or does it protect the powerful? As a political analyst, I want to be clear here our system is built on the idea that no one is above the law. Yet, when it comes to wealth and influence, that principle is too often tested. If government files contain information about people who enabled Epstein, then withholding that information undermines both accountability and public trust. Shante is right to call it complicity. Transparency is not optional, it's essential. She also reminds us of the lasting toll this kind of abuse takes. PTSD, distrust, broken families, and a worldview shaped by betrayal. That's not just her story, it's the reality for countless survivors whose voices are often drowned out by political noise or legal maneuvering. And so, when she urges Congress and the president to act, she's not just speaking as a survivor, she's speaking as a citizen who believes in a better future. She's pushing for legislation that would ensure transparency, accountability, and protection against predators who exploit wealth and connections to evade justice. Now, here's my take. This is bigger than partisan politics. It doesn't matter if the names in those files are Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. What matters is whether we're willing to confront uncomfortable truths, even when they implicate people in power. Justice isn't about protecting institutions or reputations. It's about protecting people. If there's one thing Shante's testimony makes clear, it's this. Secrecy breeds impunity. Sunlight, on the other hand, breeds accountability. If we don't learn from Epstein, if we don't confront the network's protection that allowed him to thrive, then history will repeat itself and survivors will continue to pay the price. So as we reflect on her words, I think we should all be asking the same question she asked. Who are we protecting and why? And most importantly, when will survivors finally see justice that matches the weight of their pain? That's where I'll leave it for today. As always, I encourage you to think critically, ask tough questions, and demand accountability no matter where the truth leads. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.